Folks, the Pittsburgh Pirates just keep on winning.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. Folks, my name is Ethan Smith. You can follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your news, analysis, opinions, and reactions to everything going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And right now, everything going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates is just involving this wonderful word that starts with a W, and it is winning. The Pittsburgh Pirates, folks, are just winning baseball games to start the season. Obviously, winning their fifth game of the year against the Washington Nationals on Monday afternoon and evening, moving their record to 5-0, something they have not done since 1983. Leave in the comments how old you were in 1983, because I know how old I was. I was not alive. So it's been quite a while since the Pirates have gotten off to a start like this to begin a season. And a lot of it is just attributed to this team just playing some pretty good baseball and making the right decisions. And when you look at yesterday's game against this Nationals team, obviously the Pittsburgh Pirates have had success against the Washington Nationals in the past, had success against them last year at the end of that strong April that they had. Usually have a pretty good amount of success as well in Washington as of late. And that did not change yesterday in that 8-4 victory over the Nats, where we got to see a lot of good stuff. We got to see the debut, of course, of another offseason acquisition that the Pirates made in Marco Gonzalez. He had a pretty solid day, only allowed the one earned run, 4 hits on the day. All of those hits were singles from the Washington Nationals. So pretty much Marco Gonzalez showed us exactly who he's going to be. Marco Gonzalez is going to be a guy that's going to elicit that soft contact. He's going to let his defense play behind him. He's not going to strike out too many guys, but he's going to be efficient. He's going to give you 5 to 6 strong innings every single start, and that's exactly what he did yesterday. He was filling the zone. Again, only gave up 4 hits on the day, 1 earned run, had the 2 walks, had the 2 strikeouts. But if you watched the game yesterday, you would just see that the Nationals were just not making any sort of good contact against Marco Gonzalez at all. And that's really what he was planning on doing. And then, of course, supplemented by Roansy Contreras, who makes his 2024 debut, had a very good start to his 2024 debut. Obviously, Marco Gonzalez gave up a hit to begin the 6th inning. Roansy would come in for that, shut that inning down, then blows the save in his 2nd inning of work, 2 earned runs on the day. Did have 3 strikeouts, was still credited with the victory in this one too. Really, it was all just about one bad pitch. His fastball looked very good in that 6th inning. It looked like he was finally getting some of that velocity back, some of that command back that we were so used to a guy like Roansy Contreras having. But again, just one bad pitch that ended up tying things up to make it 3-3. Ryder Ryan comes in, pitches an inning in 2/3, and man, did he look good. He had 3 strikeouts on the day. That one pitch that he throws, man, it is a pitch that is just disgusting. It is a disgusting pitch that Ryder Ryan throws. And keep in mind that the Pirates just got this guy on a minor league deal, an NRI. He was an NRI going into spring training, and he is now part of one of the deepest bullpens in baseball. And that is one thing that we've seen through these first 5 games is a guy like Ryder Ryan might not even be on this roster by the time that Carmen Mlodzinski and Colin Holderman return from their IL stints. And you're seeing what he's doing and what he's able to do. Obviously did give up an earned run down, in the 9th inning, but we'll get to that why that didn't really mean that much in a minute. But you're looking at guys like that 6 months ago, we would have never thought about being in this bullpen, would have never thought about being major contributors to this team. And now, I mean, he's coming in a high leverage situation after Rowe gives up the lead, shuts the door, lets the offense get the lead back and some, and then shuts the door again. Obviously, Aroldis Chapman had to come in up 8-4 in this one to get the 1-out save. Very funny to me that the Pirates are 5-0, and right now, David Bednar does not have a save yet, so he would be the fourth Pirate to have a save if it warrants it if he gets the next one. So not exactly something that I think a lot of us expected for the season to start that way. But hey, 5-0 is 5-0. And a lot of that 5-0 start is also attributed to just what this offense has been able to do through the first couple of games, man. They're averaging 7.8 runs per game right now. That did not stop yesterday. As really the highlights of this, I mean, you were looking at the lineup. It had 15 hits on the day. Michael A. Taylor had 3 hits in his return to Washington, obviously winning a World Series with the Washington Nationals in 2019. Had a 3-for-4 day, only the one strikeout, had an RBI, had a good defensive day as well. Showed off some of that speed that a lot of people I don't think realize that Michael A. Taylor has. And it's really just because he doesn't use it to get stolen bases all that often, but he does have that great range in the outfield defensively. He does have the bat that can hit. He's currently hitting 471 on the season right now with a 164 OPS. You'll take that all day from a guy like Michael A. Taylor, who really, again, was brought in to play defense in center field and be an anchor in that outfield. Has a great homecoming party to the Washington Nationals stadium yesterday. Then you look at the top of the lineup, Connor Joe. Phenomenal day from him, phenomenal start to the season for a guy like Connor Joe, who has just been a very big contributor to this team since arriving back last year. 2 hits on the day, 2 RBIs on the day, currently sitting at a 966 OPS, has done great in that leadoff spot. Obviously, I think that'll change tomorrow when they finally don't face a righty for the first time this year and facing Trevor Williams. Rowdy Tellez, walked in his only plate appearance. You look at Brian Reynolds. He had a phenomenal day again. Brian Reynolds right now has been showing emotion. He's been playing great to start the season. 3 RBIs on the day on a 2-for-5 day. OPS north of 1,000 to start the year. His running mate, Ke'Bryan Hayes, who's been right there with him, north of 1,000 OPS as well, had a walk and another RBI on the day. Andrew McCutchen, who has been a talking point to start this year with his slow start, finally got back on the board in the hit column, 2-for-4 on the day, had that scary hit by pitch that hit off of his knee and shin area, appeared that he was fine. Almost hit number 300 yesterday as well. A ball hit off the wall. And I think Kutch also thought that he hit number 300 yesterday against the Washington Nationals. Very slow start to the year for Kutch, but he's a veteran. We know what Kutch is going to be at this point in his career. But if the struggles do continue, I do think it's interesting to see what they decide to do with that cleanup spot, be it Jack Sawinski, be it O'Neal Cruz, Rowdy Tellez. That would be more against righties. What you do against lefties in that spot, you could probably have like a guy like Edward Olivares in that spot. You could maybe slide up a guy like Henry Davis if you want to, who also had a very good day yesterday at the plate, 2-for-4 with 2 doubles on the day and also a walk as well. So it was just a very good day offensively for this team. And it's really something that we've been able to say from leaving all of these games. The only time that I think this offense has really looked like it was struggling mightily was opening day against Jesus Luzardo. And then ever since Luzardo left that game, the Pirates have just destroyed opposing pitching, be it their bullpen, be it the starters, be it whoever you want to look at. And another big thing that I've noticed over these past couple games that improved from that opening day game, the runners in scoring position thing is fixing itself a little bit. 5 games into the year, they were 7 for 21 yesterday with runners in scoring position. Obviously, played a lot of small ball yesterday too. That's been the thing that really has kind of defined this, is they've been able to play the offensive game any way they want. They can put the ball over the fence. They can play small ball. They can play a consistent, balanced offense game if they need to. And that's really just how the wheels have been churning for this offense thus far. And I am interested again tomorrow to see what lineup we get from Derek Shelton, seeing as he's finally not facing a left-handed pitcher for the first time this year and can make a lineup card that will likely see maybe an O'Neal Cruz leading off, a spot that he was very good in last year. I think you'll obviously still see Reynolds and Hayes atop that lineup at some point. Edward Olivares, I think, will sit, and you'll have Jack Sawinski in the lineup. You had Sawinski in the lineup yesterday, or pinch hit yesterday, had the 1 walk in his lone appearance. Obviously not a fast start for Jack Sawinski this year either, but again, he hasn't faced really much right-handed hitting yet, which is what he's going to be at. Michael A. Taylor, I think, will also start as well against righties no matter what. You just have to keep that defense in center field. So it's interesting with all these things that are going on for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously the only team in Major League Baseball with 5 victories at this current moment. and they have their first day off. So what's been going right for this team? And is Derek Shelton's decision-making one of the biggest components to why this team is 5-0? We're going to talk about that in just a moment, folks, but I want to talk to you first about Amazon Fire TV. Amazon Fire TV channels is your sports destination. To learn more, visit amazon.com/lockedonfiretv because Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and television episodes as well as free and live television. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, which is going to the Final Four, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos, and more. So check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit amazon.com/lockedonfiretv, your sports destination today. And folks, also, don't forget that if you're watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and have to turn down the volume, well, you should make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. You're 5-0 Pittsburgh Pirates, by the way, a team that is undefeated at this current moment on Tuesday, April 2nd, getting their April off to a hot start again, much like they did last season, off to their best start since 1983. When they went 5-0 that season. 1983, by the way, just out of the family tree that I like to call it, of years where that team was on top of the baseball world in 1979, also the last time they won the World Series. The season ended today, the Pirates would be in the playoffs and be the number one seed in the National League, but obviously we still have 157 games to go, and there's a lot to like about this team so far. And I think it's okay to say that. I actually had somebody in my comments the other day say that it feels like we don't know how to cover a good baseball team because ever since I've been here, they've never had a winning record. They've really shown limited signs of life of being a good baseball team up until last year. And now this team feels a little bit different. Now, I know, again, it's the beginning of the year. We saw this last year. We all got very excited about it last year, but this team feels a little bit different. There's a lot to like about this team, and they're doing a lot right. And right now, I think the biggest thing that they've been doing right is just the decisions they've made in the bullpen in these close games. Derek Shelton and his decision-making have to be put on the spotlight right now. They just have to be. He's been making phenomenal decisions in terms of who he brings out from the bullpen, what decisions he's making in these close, high leverage spots, and they have just flat out worked so far. You go back to opening day, the 6-5 win over the Miami Marlins in 12 innings. He let his pitchers pitch. He let Luis Ortiz stay out there and dictate how the game was going to end. He brings in Jose Hernandez, who is not even on the roster anymore and wasn't even supposed to be on the roster, and says, kid, go get the save. He uses David Bednar in a big spot. Obviously, Bednar blew the save on Sunday, but he's using his guys where he needs to. For instance, with yesterday's game, Ryder Ryan was having a great outing, gave up the run, Gave up 2 hits. It looked like, okay, we know we're up 8-3, 8-4, but we need to shut this down. He brings in Aroldis Chapman. Chapman gets 1 out. Boom, game over. It's been the decision-making, I think, of Derek Shelton that has been one of the best things that the Pirates have been doing right so far. The lineups have been doing well against lefties. And you could argue that this is the team that isn't very well equipped to beat lefties. You have the Jack Sawinskis, the Rowdy Telezes, and the O'Neill Cruzes of the world that struggle against lefties. Like, for instance, right now, O'Neill Cruz, it shocks me that he's hitting .316 with an .855 OPS right now. Now, obviously, not all of his at-bats have come against righties, but you look at what Derek Shelton has done on the reverse side of making another team's bullpen work. I mean, other teams' bullpens with O'Neill Cruz have to overextend themselves because they don't want to see him face righties. And at some point, the Nationals are going to see this tomorrow. At some point, you're going to have to throw a right-handed pitcher against O'Neill Cruz. You're going to have to throw a right-handed pitcher against Jack Sawinski and Rowdy Telez. It's just going to have to happen. And with the lineups that he's constructed over these last couple days, Derek Shelton has done something that I asked for a ton this offseason. If there is something that is working and there is something that you are doing right and there are players that are playing well, just leave it that way. And that's what he's done so far. The top 4 of the lineup has been pretty much the same for the first 5 games of the year. Connor Joe's been leading off and doing a phenomenal job at doing so. Brian Reynolds is tearing the cover off the baseball to begin the season at number 2. Hayes is picking up right where he left off from the second half in those final 2 months of the year last year, and he's starting to really get some national recognition on how he's hitting the baseball. Andrew McCutcheon's been in that cleanup spot, and albeit he hasn't played great, the Pirates aren't losing games because of it. So why change it? And then you look at the other decisions that he's made, going back to opening day again, bringing in Edward Olivares to face a lefty, hits a home run that really changed the course of that entire game. You see bringing in Jack Sawinski against righties to get him the best opportunity to get on base. He's left Henry Davis in the lineup all but one day, and that was Sunday. And Henry Davis has done a very good job catching behind the plate so far. He's played very well defensively. He's hit the baseball relatively hard. He got very unlucky in that Miami Marlins series, especially when it came to Jake Berger being at third base. But then Michael A. Taylor has had a very hot start to the year. Even Alika Williams is hitting .375 to start the season. He played second base yesterday. He's let Jared Triolo stay in these games, even though Triolo has had his mixed bag so far. But I really do think that when you're looking at what this team is doing right overall, the offense just goes out there and hits. Yeah, they have some of those frustrating called third strike looking BS that they've been doing, and I call it BS because it is. They need to stop doing it. But in these high leverage situations with 2 outs in an inning, the Pirates have just been turning it on. They've been hitting the right light switch when it comes to having 2 outs in an inning. And they've done that throughout all 5 games. Now, is that sustainable over an entire season? No. They have to start getting off to hotter starts and innings before 2 outs comes along, because you're not always going to get those high leverage 2-out hits that they've been getting through the first 5 games. And there's no issue that they're getting them. And I'm not saying that they can't get them more often than they won't, but it's not something that you're going to be able to sustain over a 162-game season. Now, obviously, as far as the offense is concerned, and I kind of already mentioned this earlier, another thing that they're doing right now is they're just playing all aspects of the game. You saw yesterday with small ball, there were balls in the infield that they were turning into hits, little dribblers that they were turning into hits. Even Michael A. Taylor dropped a bunt yesterday. A bunt in this economy? We're dropping bunts in 2024 in Major League Baseball? Oh my God. Like, I saw that happen. I was like, whoa, we got a small ball guy going here. But then also, you see the Kutch double off the wall. You see Reynolds spraying the ball all over the place. Hayes hitting the ball everywhere. Henry Davis with 2 doubles. This offense can do it all, folks. And I think one of the bigger things that you could step away from when you're looking at these lineups that we've seen is that Michael A. Taylor is your 8 or 9 hitter, and is a guy that has the capability of hitting 10 to 15 home runs in a season. and that's your 9 hitter. And O'Neal Cruz to start the year has been in the 6 or the 7 hole. You slide him up and slide somebody down. You're talking about Rowdy Tellez against righties being your 5 or 6 hitter. Jack Sawinski being your 4. And that top 3, if it continues to produce, then it's all just going to keep falling down the line. And that's what you want to see. You want to see your top guys in the lineup really set the tone. And that tone has been set so far offensively. And they just have kept hitting the baseball. They're one of the best teams in baseball to start the season in runs scored, hits, extra base hits, pretty much every metric that you could think of. They have just been doing it well. But now, we saw this last year. I mentioned it. We saw the hot start last year, 21-8 to start the year last year. How do they maintain that hot start? We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do, folks, we're going to talk about FanDuel. Well, I said this on the show yesterday. If you've bet on the Pittsburgh Pirates outright money line through the first 5 games, probably made a decent chunk of change, especially if you do it at FanDuel. The sports calendar is loaded, and FanDuel's making it even more exciting to get in on the action because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on the tournament, Major League Baseball, the NBA, NHL, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win because FanDuel is America's #1 sports book and an official sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. And welcome, everybody, to the third and final segment of today's episode of Locked On Pirates here on Tuesday, April 2nd. For all of you that don't know, by the way, I will be in Pittsburgh for opening day on Friday. Going to have some notes about that on Thursday about where I'll be. If you want to come say hi, please do it. I want to say hi to all of you that listen to the show and have made this show what it is, which is one of the best Pirates podcasts in the entire world at this point. And you guys are awesome. You got us into the top 35 on Apple Podcasts last week. So thank you for that. We had multiple episodes have massive view counts that I haven't even really seen in quite a while on the show here on YouTube. So thank you all for that. And thank you also, Pirates, for just starting hot. I think this has gotten people into the Pirates early again. I think people are finally starting to realize that the Pirates are a team that's well equipped to win close baseball games. They are a team that has real players around the diamond now. And ultimately, I think that's one of the biggest things that attributes to this hot start is you have some of these newcomers like Edward Olivares and some of these young guys like Alika Williams and Marco Gonzalez and, Martin Perez, all these new guys, Aroldis Chapman, that are all coming into the fold, like Ryder Ryan. And guys that have been here, but they're making their debut now, like Hunter Stratton, or well, not debut, but here full time now, like Hunter Stratton and Ryder Ryan, who I mentioned, and some of these other guys. But you're starting to look around now with this team. The Brian Reynolds of the world, the Mitch Kellers of the world, the Key Brian Hayes of the world, who have all been extended the past 3 off seasons. And you know that opening day for the next half decade, you're going to have Key Brian Hayes at third, Brian Reynolds at left field, right field, or somewhere, and Mitch Keller as the opening day starter until somebody supplants that from him. And that has to just feel good for some of these young guys. Now, again, we saw the Pirates start like this last year. They started hot in Cincinnati. They started hot in Boston. They came back to beat Chicago in that crazy opening day last year. They were 21-8, and then everything went downhill. So how do you prevent that from happening again? Well, for starters, you would like to see a better start for Mitch Keller tomorrow. I know that's not really, but that's a longevity thing more than anything. But that's really just a more recent thing that we would like to see Keller do better. And obviously these pitchers are stretching themselves out, but I would like to get consistent starts from this pitching staff because the Pirates bullpen right now is arguably the best unit in all of baseball. It's very hard to argue. And if your starters can have very good days and just hand it off to the bullpen, folks, this bullpen is going to shut down games more often than not. And the last 2 games, we've seen them surrender leads, not surrender leads in terms of losing the game, but we've seen them surrender it to the point of being tied, but it never really feels like we're all that worried about it. It feels like, oh, okay, they gave up 1 run, the game's still tied, the offense will go score runs. Now, it's a 162 game season, but focus on April for now. Let's just focus on April for right now. Every year that I've covered this team, I've covered this team under the microscope of covering them month by month. And that's what I think they need to do. How are they performing this month? How are they performing in May? How are they performing in June? Because one good month can put you in the playoff conversation. One bad month can take you right out of it. We know about that from last year. So to maintain this hot start, I think a lot of it just boils down to the rotation, giving the bullpen good days on the mound. I think that's going to be huge. And the offense just needs to keep hitting. If this offense just keeps doing what it's doing and keeps hitting the baseball, folks, the Pirates are never out of any baseball game. And that's just the honest truth. They could be down 5-0. Oh, wait, we saw that already with Bailey Falter on Sunday. They still came back, clawed back, because they didn't panic. And I think that's the big thing that I want to drive this year. Is last year, there was a lot of hoopla about what the Pirates were doing and how good they were in April and how surprising it was that they were doing so well in the absence of O'Neal Cruz. This year, it doesn't really seem like the players are all like whoop-dee-dee excited about it. Obviously, they're excited. They're winning baseball games, but it doesn't feel like it's the main talking point. It feels like the Pirates and the talking points that I've had on this show and their wins so far have been just about real things. Brian Reynolds in the top of that lineup just hitting the baseball. The offense scoring runs. Again, 7.8 runs per game right now. The bullpen being absolutely shut down through the first 5 games. Getting good starts from Jared Jones in his debut and Marco Gonzalez yesterday. Martin Perez also didn't have the worst start either. Keller's start wasn't great, wasn't horrible, but you would like it to be better from him, seeing as he is your ace in your staff right now. But if they could just continue to just play the game they're playing, not change anything, and just stay the course, folks, I don't see why it would change. I mean, the Pirates being in any close game right now, I'm betting on them to win. With the bullpen that they have, with the offense that they have, with the ability that they have to claw back into games. And really, just keep doing the things you're doing right that I highlighted in the second part of the show. That's how you maintain this hot start. Just keep hitting the baseball. Let the bullpen work. The rotation, give at least 5 good innings. That's all you need to do. Just 5 quality innings of pitching is all the rotation has to do for this team to stay in games. That's all they have to do. And folks, it's also crazy to think this might not even be the best rendition of this team that we see this year. Paul Skeens could come up at any point. Leover Peguero could be a contributor on this roster at any point. Colin Holderman and Carmen Majinski are going to be back probably sometime next week or the week after. The team you've watched through the first 5 games is not even the best rendition of what you're going to see of this Pirates team throughout this year. And that, folks, should leave cause for excitement and why this team can maintain a hot start. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates every day. Again, my name is Ethan Smith. You can follow me right there on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your news, analysis, opinions, and reactions to everything going on in the world of the 5-0 Pittsburgh Pirates. You can find the show on YouTube and all of your audio platforms because it is free and available to you every Monday through Friday and sometimes other days as well. So, folks, have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday afternoon. Enjoy the off day. We'll be back tomorrow previewing Game 2 of the series against the Washington Nationals and talking about a bunch of other things that are on my mind. But until then, see you on the flip side.